BeastNet is brought to you by James Safety Services in partnership with OCR Buddy and OCR Strong. Here we discuss all things OCR and fitness related. Welcome to BeastNet.
Hey everybody, it's Mike with BeastNet. On this episode, I have with me Ryan Nicholas. Ryan, oh, that was loud. Remind everyone who you are, and then kind of why we brought you on today.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me back on again. I know we talked a couple months ago after the summer death race was over. So I am back because we're getting back into death race season, and you're gracious enough to let me come on and do my media challenge.
Oh yeah.
Those familiar with the death race world know there's some media challenges out there. So I'm here to state my intent. I'm going to kind of do a 2-for-1 here. I plan on tackling the 2023 winter death race, and I'm also going to give the 2023 summer death race another go. So probably bad life decisions, but that's kind of what we do in this community, right? So
It is. I mean, we wouldn't be having fun if we weren't making bad life decisions. So
that's right.
kind of what we do. So when is both of those races? When's the winter death race?
So the winter is coming up, I think it's February 9th through 11th, if I remember correctly. And then the summer is the last week of June, rolls into kind of the 4th of July weekend. So I'll kind of do a plug out there. If anybody's on the fence about signing up, I think they run a little discount right now. So if you're thinking about it, be a good time to hop on there and give it a shot. So and part of the reason we have to come on here is kind of talk about why we do it, and for me, I always kind of think about that as I go along. But the older I've gotten, it's really more about the community for me now. When I was younger, it was always, trying to get that medal or that, get the patch or whatever it was to finish. And that's certainly the goal. Always the goal is to finish. You never sign up to something for something to not finish. But really now it's just the friendships I've made at these events. That's kind of what keeps drawing me back, and anybody that's been to Pittsfield, Vermont, or in that part of the country, there's just something kind of magical that kind of gets in your soul, kind of gets in your bones, and keeps pulling you back every year. And so that's one I always circle on the calendar. I always look forward to coming back. So
yeah, and that's one thing I've had this conversation with a few people before about like the medals and stuff like that. And I mean, when you first start, it's all about getting the medals. It's like, I have a wall downstairs in my gym that's just covered with medals that I've gotten from every race. But then what cracks me up, if you see like this year's medals, there's a pile on the bottom of the wall that I haven't done anything with. It's just sitting there from like all the races I did this year. Cause I'm like, sometime during, I think COVID, it came into my brain that the medals don't mean a whole lot. And I think what it was is the first Spartan race I did right after COVID, that was Vegas in like 2021, I think, where you like you could walk in 30 minutes before your time, and then once you were done, you left. There was no community, no nothing. And I'm like, this has nothing to do with the medals. It has to do everything with community.
Sure.
And people. And I mean, doing the death race, I mean, for mostly what the other people I've talked to, it like the death race, like you guys become, and a lot of these, people that do the race become like lifelong friends.
Oh, sure. Yeah. It's really like a second family. It is really what it's like. And no matter where you go in the country, there, somebody in that region, or you've got a story, or, whether you finish it, don't finish it. If you just show up, you become a part of that community. And kind of that, bonding through the pain, I guess. And you're right. I think COVID really kind of flipped the switch for me too. That, hey, it's the people. It's about the people. You start seeing the same folks at the same events. And I'm kind of like you. I found a bag of wedges from Spartan race that I didn't even know I had. And it used to be about getting all the trifectas and and I was like, oh man, I didn't know I had 15 or 20 wedges here in the bottom of my closet. So. And so really it's just about being out there and being around those people now. And that's really what drives me. No matter how bad the event's going to be, that's really what it's about.
And it is. It's like this year, I was only going to do like 3 races. I was going to do the races basically San Antonio and Dallas, and that was it. I was just going to fly down to Texas because mainly those that don't know, my wife wants to move to Texas. So every race we've been doing is pretty much we go to Texas so she can look at houses. But I was just going to do those 3, but then it was like all of a sudden I'm like, well, I want to see my people, so I'm not just going to go hang out at the Seattle race. So I've got to do the race. And then we ended up not having to do a trip to Jersey for something else. So we're like, well, might as well go to Hawaii and visit our people in Hawaii.
Right.
And might as well, while I'm there, do a Spartan race.
Yeah, somebody's got to, right?
I can't go there and visit my, Ohana, Spartan team over there without actually racing with them. So, I mean, it's just kind of, and for me, like I said, it wasn't about doing the races in a lot of ways. It was just about hanging out with the people and doing it, because I was trying to take it somewhat easy, because my goal this year was the Ironman.
Mhm.
So I didn't want to blow my body out before the Ironman, but I still wanted to go see my people and do the races. So, I mean, I didn't push hard. I didn't do much of the Spartans. It was more just became party pace. We had fun. We walked, we did, whatever, we talked and had a blast, but, someday I want to do the death races. So I know you did the summer one and we've talked about that. So on the media challenge, what was the media challenge that you had to do besides just, getting on here and talking about it?
So really the summer and the winter, we talk about why we want to do it, and and that's evolved. Again, it used to be the personal challenge, the physical challenge, and and that's still there. I still like to challenge myself mentally, physically, but again, it's that community about why I enjoy doing it, why I keep going back. That's the question everybody always says. Why do you keep? They see the gear list, they hear about the crazy stuff that happens, and you think, why do you want to do that? And for me, it's a chance to recharge the batteries almost. You get out of the office, you get away from technology, you get out, the wilderness. And I don't know, I think last year we were 1 a.m, we're doing, some kind of crazy workout. And you had about a 2-minute break to hydrate. And you just look up and you see the moon over this mountain, and the stars, and it's just quiet.
Mhm.
And it doesn't matter how bad it sucks, or how bad you're hurting, in that moment, it's just kind of a peacefulness and a calmness, at least for me personally. So for me, I guess it's kind of cheap therapy in a way. So that's
Oh yeah.
how it brings it back. So that living in Florida, obviously the summer death race is probably more of my alley than the winter death race. It's a little bit different element. And so one of the parts on that winter death race was, talking about how to avoid hypothermia, which for me is, it hits, 25 degrees here. We're closing down schools and the roads and everything. So, so it's definitely going to be a new experience. And that's part of what drew me to it also, is that, hey, it's way outside my comfort zone, that is going to be a big challenge, just from having to research gear, having to train with it, having to learn how to use it appropriately. My plan for hypothermia, from what I can read, is it's all about those small layers, a lot of lighter layers that you can take on, take off, be able to regulate your body temperature. So kind of my plan is a lot of lighter, multiple layers, socks. I don't think you can have enough socks up there, from what I've read. Keeping your hands dry as best you can.
Definitely.
Hydration's key. You wouldn't think so in a winter race, but hydration's a huge thing. I did get to run an ultra in Iceland, and it's crazy how fast you can get dehydrated. And so
It is.
so
When you're
just
cold, you end up getting what is it called? Cold diarrhea or something. I can never pronounce it, but it's
right.
basically when you're cold, you pee more.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
makes you actually dehydrate faster. And I mean, there's so many weird things. Like I said, I teach first aid, CPR, and all that stuff. And some of the stuff I've learned, because I'm a safety professional in construction. So I do all all the stuff where we're talking about working out in the cold and stuff like that. And some of the stuff I've learned, I'm like, oh wow, cold diarrhea, it's going to make you,
Yeah.
dehydrate faster. And then people end up overlayering and then
Yep.
sweating, and then they get hyperthermic because they sweat, and now the bottom base layer that they had is soaked from the sweat,
Mhm.
and there's so many things when it comes to that, especially if you're not used to it. I mean, I live in Washington. It's 10 months out of the year, the weather sucks. That's why we want
Right.
to move to Texas. But
Right.
it's so where is it at in February?
So it's in Pittsfield, Vermont. It's in the same spot, summer and winter. So it's going to be cold, and
Yeah.
probably obviously snowing and blowing. So I'm in the perfect place to train for it. It's flat and warm here, and it's going to be mountains and cold up there. So,
So
but that's part of the intrigue of it, though, too, is
Mhm.
that challenge. I still have to challenge myself, and I enjoy learning new skills. Researching. How do you stay warm? How do you combat that? And and really and truly, what I've learned, and I've done some cold events, not to this magnitude. But really, you want to start off cold because
Mhm.
once you get moving, your body really does generate a lot of heat.
It does.
So if you can keep moving, so kind of my strategy is light layers, keep yourself moving, and if you have a down few minutes, do some burpees, do some jumping jacks, just to kind of generate a little bit of body heat and to regulate it. So
Yeah. Get
I
that
think
body moving.
yeah, and I think that's the kind of the fallacy. These folks layer up, like you said, they'll put on 5, 6 layers, sweat, and then once you start sweating, you're done. So,
Yeah, you're done because now that base layer, it doesn't matter how many layers you have on top of it, but once that base layer is soaked with sweat, you're screwed.
yeah,
So
yeah,
it's definitely, it's a matter of making sure the layers, the feet, making sure covering your head, beanies,
yeah,
beanies, stuff
yeah,
to cover your head. I know one of the ones for me, when I've done colder events, running, I did a couple years ago, and it wasn't death race is obviously worse than this, but I ran my age. And my birthday is actually December 2nd. I ran my age. So I ran 43 miles on a track, just kept running circles. And basically that was my birthday party. Like all my friends showed up. You want to have it come see me for my birthday. And this was in 2020 during COVID. I'm like, you want to come see me for my birthday? I'm running 43 miles on this track. Come stop by. So we stopped and had cake while I was running. Just kept running and everyone showed up. But I made sure I had, I think, 8 or 9 pairs of socks and like 3 pairs of shoes. So
right,
I could
yeah,
swap
yeah.
out, because the second your feet get wet,
Oh
you
yeah,
start getting into, the issues of trench foot. And if you've never heard of trench foot, immersion foot, there's multiple names for it. It's horrible. Your feet get itchy, swelling, pain. It was, they found it, originally started talking about it, and it had happened before, but World War I, from standing in the trenches. That's why
yeah,
it's called trench foot.
right.
It's another horrible one. When it comes to the cold, especially if it's going to be snow and all that kind of stuff. So, it's going to be definitely interesting, because the death race is basically you go till the
You
last
really
man
don't
drops,
know.
right?
Each year's different.
Yeah.
So there's no real formula, and obviously they put a lot of time into planning it and mapping it out. So there is a script that they do follow. But each year is different. Sometimes it might be, hey, we're going to go until 2 are left, or it might be, hey, we'll go until 5 are left, or there's a certain time. So anywhere from 48 to 72 hours. I always plan for 72, and if it's less, that's awesome.
Yep.
So plan for 72, and then maybe it's shorter. So
I would definitely be up until you leave. If for me, I always tell everyone, an event like that where you're going from a heat to cold or cold to hot, I would say, get there a couple days ahead.
yeah,
Really, they say it's 2 weeks to acclimate, but I'm
right.
sure you don't have 2 weeks of vacation. Just be like, oh yeah, I'm
I,
gonna
I
hang
mean,
out in Vermont for 2 weeks.
I could spend 2 weeks up there, no problem. So I would say anybody that's even on the fence, just go there and check out the area. It's just a great area. Great
Oh yeah.
people. Beautiful. Just beautiful, great people. So you won't be disappointed for sure. So yeah, I'm gonna try to get about 48 hours, I guess, there before, just to kind of get the shock factor over. Try and do cold showers. Start ramping up the cold showers, some
Ice baths.
cold water immersions. So that's plan to try to acclimate. So, they have beer coolers down here, don't get that cold, so that doesn't help too much. So,
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things. Like I said, it's always, I like some of the events, like, up here in Seattle, they used to have the Spartan Super in April, and a lot of people hated it because they're like, a quarter of the people that started it would have to back out because of hypothermia.
right,
Because
right.
it would get, it's like low 40s, pouring down rain. One year, there's video of a guy 1 year swimming through the barbed wire because it was raining so
Yeah,
hard that it
yeah.
actually like basically started to
Right.
flood. And for me, everyone's like, this is a horrible idea. I'm like, no, this is amazing, because now
Yeah,
it's a whole new obstacle. You would have times like, there was 1 year, my super time at the same place was longer than my beast time.
Yep.
because
Yep.
during the beast it was dry and I could just go.
Yeah.
But during it was so muddy and so murky during the super. It was just brutal. But I mean, we need those other challenges. We need the heat. We need the cold. I mean, we
Sure.
need to push our bodies, and that's one reason like I started doing triathlons is to push my body and getting into the cold water. I have major issues with getting into cold water. And it's like, yeah, well, for the, it's like you said, it's way out of your comfort zone. That's why we should do it.
Oh, absolutely. That's that cold water is it's never fun for sure. So I was at it was like 2019 North Carolina Ultra. I was there for that one. It was similar conditions, 40, probably, rained all day, wind was blowing, and I just the number of folks that just were dropping. And you had to keep moving to stay warm, and that to me is probably your biggest factor. If you can move, and stay quasi dry, then you've got a chance. But if you stop or get stuck, and it becomes kind of a mental, more of a mental grind really than a physical, because the course is the same.
Yep.
I mean, you get some more mud, you get some more water, distance is the same, but it's really a mental mindset and blocking that out at that point. So
It is.
and kind of calluses the mind, and you have to have something to go back to and reference. So
No. So it'll definitely be interesting. I would, I can't wait to see how it goes for you in the February and that ice cold. So, and then you said the Vermont one is in the same spot, but in July or end of June.
Yeah, with the summer will be there in the June, and so really even there that time of year it'll get down to the 50s at night. So you have to, of course, you're sweating, so you're wet, and you can get I've seen folks go hypothermic, in 50 degrees, and so but it will be the same spot, same reason for going up there. I mean, it's just a great time, great people, and I know you kind of cast a wide net on your audience, and just really encourage folks to give it a shot, sign up. Don't that fear of the unknown. I remember that was for me, man. Well, what's this going to be like? The logistics. What are they gonna, and don't let that hold you back. Just show up. That's really the hardest part of showing up. And then once you get there, it's moving heavy stuff. It's walking up hills. It's doing stuff that you're used to doing on some level. But just signing up and showing up is probably the hardest part.
It is on a lot of them. And I hear that all the time where people are like, oh, yeah, I'm going to do that someday. I'm going to do it someday. And I can remember, especially when I was really into the volunteering for Spartan, and I always had more races than I could use. And so I get friends all the time. Oh, yeah, I'm going to do that one. When I finally sign up, here's a free code. What's excuse number 2? Sign up and go, and that's the cool, that's the hardest part is signing up, getting there, doing it. So the winter, you got to worry about, like we said, make sure you stay warm, keep the, worry about the trench foot, keep your feet dry, keep your body, make sure you're not, your hands, feet, that you're not getting, frostbite. Those are all ones that people, and like you said, even in the summer, you can still get hypothermic and everything else. It's just hypothermia. It's just your body temperature dropping,
It is.
Having being, even 55 degrees, 60 degrees out, and you're out there in the cold, not wearing the right gear, and it's a little rainy or, or windy or anything, you definitely go hypothermic. I've done a few races like that where it was, during the day, it was ultra hot. And then at night, all of a sudden the temperature would just straight down and you're like, ooh. But I do know what you mean about suddenly being out there with nothing and then looking up and being like, wow,
Oh yeah.
I did one. There's one up here that I do every June that I'll probably be doing about the same time you're doing the death race. It's not as bad, but it's a 24-hour just running through the woods. It's the 24-hour Sisu, Pacific Northwest.
Oh yeah. Well, I don't know. That sounds worse. 24 hours running sounds worse. So
yeah, and just as many miles as you can get, you're just going for it. But 2 years ago, I mean, it was 116 degrees, and we're in Washington. We're not used to that.
Sure.
And all of a sudden at night it dropped down to like 50, and it's just like those huge extremes. But I can remember one of them. I went up one of the trails and it was called Lookout. No idea why it was called Lookout till I hit the top, and all of a sudden I got it. But it's 4 a.m, but the moon was so bright that you could see everything. And it was like one of those things. I'm in the middle of a race, but then I'm like, I've just got to sit down and take this in.
Yeah, absolutely.
And just had to sit down for a minute and watch. And I'm like, this is amazing.
And that kind of comes like we were talking about earlier, I think, in my earlier days, I'm not going to stop and appreciate that, but now, I'm going to sit down and soak that in, because how many folks get to see that, at that vantage point at that time? And not many, it
Yeah.
really and truly is not many. And so it's appreciating those times, and soaking those in, because that's really what sticks with you. I've heard folks say, and I can't remember who it was now, but what's the value of a death race finishing? It's $8. That you
Mm.
get a little plastic skull that you can buy off Amazon. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Who cares?
Mm.
But the memories you take away from that, the relationships, the experiences, that's really what sticks with me. And that's where I find the value in that race or that event. So
Yeah. Well, it's like, I was talking to someone one day about it, and it's like, especially with races kind of like Spartan and some of those other ones, and not to pick on Spartan, I love Spartan, but it's the same medal. So if I go do a race here, it's the same medals I'm going to get in Texas. It's the same
right.
medal I'm going to get, they might change, like for Hawaii, they would change the ribbon. And
Mhm, right.
ribbon, so it's a Hawaii ribbon. But I mean, which is cool. I mean, I love that. But other than that, I mean, I could go downstairs, look at the pile of, ribbons I've got from this year and not tell you anything about that ribbon.
Right.
But if you asked me about, that race, like, hey, what happened on this race in Dallas? And I could tell you a whole bunch of different, memories that I have.
Mhm,
So it's like,
right.
it stopped being about the medals a long time ago. It's about the memories. And it's, that's one thing doing like the death race. I mean, those are going to be, you could lose all those medals somehow,
Sure.
but no one's going to take those memories from you. Those are yours,
Right.
and those are achievements you've done and memories you've made. And I mean, it's just amazing. I mean, someday I want to do a death race. I was just talking to a guy the other day about doing Ultramans, which I never heard of. And now that I've heard of that, I'm like, that's just stupid. I think I want to do that. But yeah. Have you seen the
Yeah.
Ultramans?
I've heard of them, but I don't know much about them. So, but they do sound terrible. So,
It's like an Iron Man, but on crack. I mean,
okay. Okay.
take the Iron Man and like double it. So,
Okay. I got you. Yeah, that does sound terrible. So,
and I think it's even more than doubling it. I mean, it's like he was telling me it all, and it was like my brain was just broken. It like, swim for 6 miles. I'm like, I can barely swim a mile. You want me to do
yeah,
5 more?
yeah. I do a mile and a half or so. A mile, I'd be sucking wind big time. So,
Yeah. So,
hey,
and I mean,
this,
yeah.
yeah.
Those are
No,
the
I say if you want to give one a shot, come on out this summer. So, I mean, that'd be no time like the present.
It's
So,
tempting. It's tempting. A lot of it really depends, because if my wife gets her way and we do what our plan and we end up moving, it's going to make this year very, very,
sure.
very small on how many races I do. But if we do
Yeah.
move, it means I'm closer to Vermont. So,
That's
um,
it. That's
and
it.
I do have a goal. I want to be able to do some kind of run, a race of some sort, whether it be an OCR or even just a small 5K. But I want to run a race in every single state.
Okay, there you go.
And I
Yeah,
think I'm at 8, so I've got a few to go.
you got a few to go. That's right. You still got time, but yeah, just start checking them off one at a time.
But I
So,
mean, a death race in Vermont would be, a worthy one. So,
uh,
yikes, that would be fun. So, do you got any other races, or are you just pushing for those big ones?
those are the two that I've got on tap. I did do World's Toughest Mudder back in November. I'd done a Tough Mudder, but not World's Toughest. So that was my first
How
time
was that?
getting into that. That was awesome. They put on a great event, great community, just a good energy. And it's just a 24-hour. I think it was a 5-mile loop, 20 plus obstacles that you had to do. And you just go as many times as you can. And my goal was just keep moving the whole time. And so I think I ended up getting I think it was 55 miles was the grand total. So not too shabby, I guess, for the first time out. I learned a lot. Looking back on it, I think, I probably could have gotten, probably 2 more laps if I'd strategized a little bit better. But just trying to learn the format of the event. But man, great people. I mean, awesome. Great event, great energy, just positive, just like a lot of OCRs,
Yeah.
so.
I saw someone hit 100.
Yeah, I saw that. I think it was
wow.
I think it was the first female that hit 100 in the history of the event. So I'm sure she lapped me a couple times. So
Probably. I mean, she had
so,
been cruising. See,
incredible.
I've never done World's Toughest. I want to. I've done Infinite, which I did do Infinite this year, which is basically similar, but yeah, it's 8 hours. So
okay, gotcha.
you go for 8 hours. I didn't get as many as I wanted. the person I was with got hurt like on
Mm.
our second lap. So we did
Gotcha.
15K, the 5K, then he got hurt. So we basically decided because for Infinite to like earn the medal, you just had to do 15 and 5. And then we're like, well, at this point, you know, he could barely walk. So we're like, let's just
Yeah.
go mess around on the obstacles. So we just started like stopped doing laps and just started going from whatever obstacle we wanted to play on. So we're like, whatever, we've
There you
done the
go.
part we're supposed to.
Yeah.
Let's go play on the obstacles. So yeah, so we stopped the running part and just were doing obstacles, trying to figure out, you know, how to do them better and,
Sure. Sure.
hanging obstacles, doing them after you've dropped in the water 2 or 3 times to see how, you're soaked and trying to do them. So
Oh yeah.
yeah,
That was actually that one was actually pretty good training because it was I don't know, it got I mean you're wet the whole time, I mean you're
yeah,
wet the whole
you're
time.
wet the whole time on a Tough Mudder.
And
It was
I probably got down to probably mid to low 30s that night. So I mean it was chilly. So it was
that's
pretty,
good training.
yeah. So it was, just a mental thing to keep going and looking at the forecast. That's kind of when I shifted my mind. Okay, just don't quit. Just keep moving the whole time, and stay out there and don't do a lap, then go to sleep for 4 hours. And then, so the goal is to stay on the course pretty much the whole time. Of course, I changed socks a couple times, but there was no real downtime. So I was pretty happy with that. But great event. I think they're going to be in Dallas next year. So
I
if
think
you're
I
in
saw that
Texas, it might be in your backyard. You never know.
I'm
So
thinking about it. That would be amazing. So I think,
yeah,
yeah, they said it's going to be at the True Grit Ranch, which is where they did the Dallas race
that's
last
right.
year, not this year, but last year.
Okay.
So a very flat. That was one thing. The ultra, because that's where I did my ultra last year, was Dallas, and I did my ultra, and it was flat and dusty course the entire way through. And
Yeah.
then this year, I was like, I decided not to because of injury issues and some other things. I'm like, I'm just going to do the beast in Dallas, not the ultra. And then this year, it would have been a much harder ultra because the new location they had for Dallas was not flat and not, it was
Yeah.
a lot of uphill, a lot more. So, and that's the fun part is different things, and for me, getting in the heat was the hard part for me because I'm more being from Washington and not used to heat. I'm more likely to get heat stroke.
Sure. No doubt. Yeah.
So it's always tough for me to try and, fight that one and make sure, that I'm hydrating enough, that I have enough hydration with me, that I've got the right hydration, that, I'm not eating foods that are going to make me, dehydrate faster or have, stomach issues that might make me dehydrate faster, making sure I'm fueling in a way that I'm used to fueling,
Right.
Those are so much different. It's like when I made the mistake this year on the CSU, I ate food that I normally don't
Okay.
on
Yeah.
the race.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it was like, my stomach just suddenly, was like, nope, you're done. And I'm like,
Right.
oh yeah, I'm done.
Yeah. I'm done. Yeah.
I'm
When
definitely
the body goes, it goes fast. It can. So
and it was just, and I know, and I'm thinking, and I'm like, what did I do different than last year? What did I do that was wrong? And I'm like, I normally don't eat that food, and it was a very, it was basically cup of noodle, which I never eat. I don't eat
okay.
it.
Yeah.
All the sodium, so I don't eat a whole lot of salt, anything like that. So all that sodium, the second it hit my stomach, I'm like, oh no, I'll be fine. It's just something really quick I can grab. It's
Right.
warm, it'll heat my body up a little bit, so it'll be good. No, I mean, it was like 20 minutes later, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go do another lap, and I got just enough out there where I'm like, nope, need to go back. I'm done.
Yeah.
But it was one of those two. Is I knew, I knew we had third locked in place. There was no way no one could catch us. And
Right.
by doing the math, I didn't think we could catch second anyway. But it was just kind of like, I just wanted to get another lap because I wanted to hit, as many as possible. And it was just, my body's like, nope, you're done. And I'm like,
Yeah.
it's over. And I think that's the hardest part is when your mind and every other party is like, I can keep going. And then your body's like, no, you can't.
Sure. Oh
No,
yeah.
no, we're done.
I mean, the mind does control the body to on a lot of things, but sometimes the body does just take over and say, no, this is it. So,
and that's what it did to me this year. It was just one of those. It was, no, you're done. And it's like, I hate that. I've had a couple events now where that's happened, where it's just all of a sudden my body's just like, nope. And it was like when I tried for a 50 miler the first time, my hip gave out at like mile 42.
Yeah.
And it was just like my hip's like, no, you're
Sure.
done.
Yeah.
And I think that's the hardest. And especially, I think, looking like a death race and something like that, where, I mean, there is no, I mean, you just keep going pretty much. If you stop, that's it. You're done.
Right.
And that would be a tough one. You know, I want to do it. It's like one in my brain, and it's one of those ones that's tough for me because I don't like DNFing. I know I can keep moving on everything. It's like I've DNF 2 Ironmans, and both of them I knew I could have kept going, but I missed the time hacks.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
and that drives me nuts even more because my body didn't give up. My body was ready to go, but I just wasn't fast enough. And I think
Sure.
that's the part that would drive me nuts is like, you know, I know on a death race, not to sound bad, but odds are you're not gonna, you know, you're
Sure.
going
Sure.
there to do it. But I mean, the odds are, I mean, because usually, you know, I mean, how many people usually start it? You know,
Yeah. Each time it varies. I think we had maybe I want to say about 35 the last time. Now I could be misremembering. So, and you had 3 finish.
yeah,
So I mean the percentages are not in your favor. You
no,
just play the odds.
no,
But that's part of the allure too. Just
it is.
yeah. Look, there is. I mean, obviously, training's a huge part, but you do have to have the stars align a little bit, and you kind of have to have the ball bounce your way. And so sometimes it does, and sometimes it doesn't.
And I think the hardest part would be you don't want to go in with the mindset of, oh, the odds are not in my favor. It's most likely I'm not going to do this
Right.
because
Right.
you know, but you want to go into it saying, no, I'm gonna be one of those last 3. They're gonna have to pull my dead body off this course.
Sure.
But
Sure.
it's still tough because, you know, at some point, you know, they may be like, nope, you know, you didn't finish this challenge in time, or you didn't do this, or you whatever, and your day's over. And it's like,
Sure.
well, okay,
Sure.
you know.
Yeah, it's definitely a delicate balance of you have to have the mindset I'm going to finish this, but also understanding that it can't ruin your world if it
Yes.
doesn't happen. And my whole thing is your hobby shouldn't stress you out or ruin your life. And so it shouldn't define who you are. I mean, it's not how we make a living. It's what we do for fun, and trying to keep that perspective on it. So
I definitely, that's one thing I was talking, you know, someone the other day about is like for me, like I said, I did DNF 2 Ironmans, and I have they give you, you know, dry bags, and I call them my
Okay.
failure. I call them my failure bags.
yeah,
And friends are like, that's a horrible thing to say. And I'm like, it depends on perspective. Because
right,
your perspective is I'm saying that as a negative, and I'm not. I'm just saying this happened. It happens. I know
right,
why it happened. What do I need to do to fix it? To me, it's a motivation. So it's always, you know, with stuff like that, it's a perspective of, you know, if I don't make it, is it going to ruin my world, or is it just going to be like, this happened? I went for it. I gave it my all. I did something that only, you know, out of the you know, millions and millions of people on this planet, only 35 people showed up. I was one of 35 that got to do this.
sure.
And was I one of the last 3 standing? No, but I was one of the 35 that stood up to do it.
Sure, just being there and just having that experience. I mean, and the ranges, my perception, of course, the perception of death race, is everybody's out there's a hulking athlete, and but that's really not it. You have a wide range of ages, physical abilities, and so it's not they're not all superstar athletes. I mean, there are some, sure, but they're a lot of weekend warriors, and so it's not that the crowd is not as intimidating as you build up in your head. So
And I would, and not to, I mean, once again, not to sound bad, but I would think that the pro athletes would be the ones that are actually less to worry about, because they're the ones in many cases more likely to be like, well, you know, in some cases step out because they don't have that, you know, the mindset that sometimes, you know, more the weekend warriors do, like, this is my shot. You know,
right,
a lot of times the pro athletes are going to be like, if I do something and hurt myself here,
sure,
that ruins my shot for next weekend, you know. So it's kind
sure.
of, you know, for us, it's like we're going to give our all. If we walk out of here without a leg, we went for it.
Yeah, right, right.
I mean, it's
Sure, and you'll have some show up and do it, obviously, and then a lot of it's just the if you do it, it's how you make your living. I guess you're used to knowing what's coming. You
Yep.
get the course map, you get the obstacles. The obstacles. On this, you don't know what you're going to do.
no.
I mean, you don't know what you're going to do, how long you're going to do it, and I kind of enjoy that aspect of it now. And that is a draw of it. So.
And I could see that. I've done a couple races like that where I don't know. I'm horrible. My wife laughs at me because we'll go to do, and I'll do an event. I'll sign up for it. My friends will be like, "Hey, let's do this," and I'm like, "Cool, sounds great." And then we'll be on the way to the event, and she's like, "So what is this event?" I don't know.
Right.
She's like,
Yeah.
what do you mean
Yeah.
you don't know? And I'm like, I just want to be surprised. I want to see what happens. It's like
Right.
when I did Sisu the first time, literally, I was reading the directions on the way there.
Sure. Yeah.
She's like, you didn't read it. I just read the gear. I made sure I had the gear I'm supposed to have. I didn't read what it was. I didn't know what was going on. I'll
Right.
figure it out when I get there. I know it's supposed to be 3 of us on a team and we do something. Whatever.
That's it. Yeah, we'll figure it out. We'll do it live, So
I love events, and that's why I'm surprised that I've never really gone for the death race. But I think part of it too is I've done the hurricane heats and I wasn't a huge fan of the hurricane heats. They were fun, but it's like, so, but I do like that when you show up and you don't know what it is. It's something different every time.
right.
It's something insane where you just show up and like, hey, go lift that heavy, move that log. Why?
Mhm.
Because it's there.
So when you're doing the race, the tasks, at some point you don't see the point in the task. You're like, why are we doing this? And then as the race evolves and progresses, you see why they had you doing stuff. And there is some element of maintaining that property or that land, or it might be a community service project in the community, but there is a purpose behind it. At that time, it doesn't feel like it. It's like, oh man, this is just busy work just to beat you down. It is physical, but usually there is a purpose behind it, and you may not know what it is. And so it's kind of shutting your brain off to just keep doing it. And so that is a part of it. So I do enjoy that aspect of it.
Well, I think that would be kind of one of those things too. You almost have to shut your brain off so you don't drive yourself nuts trying to figure out why in the hell are we doing this?
Right.
Where it's just like we're doing this because Joe told us to.
Right.
And you might find out later, like, hey, we did all this to clear an area for a garden that for some community thing. Oh, well,
Sure. Yeah, you never know. You never
know what it's gonna be. And you're like, oh, well, that's amazing. That's awesome. We did this amazing thing that we had no idea we were doing,
Right. Yeah. So but that is a plan for 2023. So I hope to see you out there in the summer.
I'm hoping I'm gonna get out there. I'm thinking about it. It's one of those, it's like I said, it's a tough one because, with everything going on, I know the only race I'm guaranteed right now next year is the Sisu, because my wife's like, you can fly back to Seattle for that.
Right. And that's a big one. That is a big one.
That's a big one. And then at some point I'm going to do an Ironman. I don't know where. And of course I'll be doing multiple Spartans along the way. I've been looking in Texas and like all around there going, oh, look at all these Spartans I can do. It's not like Washington where we get them 1 weekend a year.
Right.
I can go all over the place and do all these races and all that. So it's going to be great. I need to get back into the working out. I've started running again every day and doing everything and getting pushing. So yeah, I'm definitely going to look into that death race in July. That's
there you go. Well, let me hit me up and we'll coordinate it. So
sounds good. Well, it's been good talking to you.
I appreciate it.
We may have to bring you back on after February's death race and, make sure you still have all your fingers and toes and you didn't lose any to frostbite. So
that's right. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. Hopefully, I plan on surviving it. So, but yeah, I'm always up for coming and chatting with you. I always enjoy it. It's always a good time.
It is. It's a great time. So, well, it's been good talking to you, and yeah, we'll talk again real soon.
All right, I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the BeastNet podcast. If you haven't done it yet, find us on Facebook, like and share the podcast. Give us a review on iTunes or Spotify. All these things will help to expand the show in the future. Don't forget to subscribe and let us know what you think and what you'd like to hear.